Best of Gen X. We are in our 40s.
And we're siblings. We'll talk about adulting in a world so different from the one we grew up in.
So excuse us while we save a generation.
One episode at a time.
Let's go.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mary Beth.
How's your week been?
It's been really good, actually. So I celebrated a birthday on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But because of that, my company allows for PTO time for your birthday.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. So I'm not used to that. But because it was Saturday, I got to celebrate it on Friday. So I had off Friday. I had, nothing going on Saturday for my birthday, just kind of hanging out and relaxing. And then yesterday, Sunday, I literally was in bed for pretty much all day except for maybe 2 hours when I went to Dick's Sporting Goods. So I was in bed all day, got to catch up on my show. I ate, Taco Bell. That's usually my go-to when I'm starving. So yeah, yesterday was a really nice, relaxing day. And then, of course, today we have MLK Day, so I'm spending that with you off work. So it's actually been a really nice last 4 or 5 days. I have felt the most rested and relaxed that I've felt in probably a month or more. So yeah, pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
The complete and total opposite of that.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So up until this year, I had this system where when it was time to decorate for a holiday, I would get my, my Halloween bin or my, holiday bin of Christmas
You're very
stuff.
organized.
I'm very organized, but my system was to get the Christmas decorations out of the storage tubs and then put the regular home decor in those tubs. And so I've spent the first couple weeks of January dreading putting my decorations away because that means going into the garage, picking up heavy tubs, bringing them in, emptying them out. And so I decided to buy all new bins that match. And so now my Christmas decorations have their own box or their own tubs, and my home decor I'll have empty home decor tubs in the garage, when it's time to decorate for Halloween or for Christmas. And so that took just the organizing of that and putting everything away took about the last 3 days. And I've been working. So I didn't get the holiday off.
Okay, Monica.
I know, right?
No, that sounds fantastic. So it's always fun to get them out and put them up for the holidays, yes. But it's dreadful to put them back.
Why is that the case? Because I'm telling you, it's no different. Like you're literally opening up a big tub and you're getting out all these decorations and you're putting them up and it's like, and you're doing the same thing in like you're putting up your regular home decorations.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like you're in the spirit while you're putting them up.
That's
but then
the
when you put them
difference.
down, it's not appropriate to play Christmas music and whatever.
Right.
So you kind of just feel like it's the end of something exciting that you won't experience for
Instead,
another 10 months.
When you're putting your Christmas decorations away and you're putting all the regular stuff back up, it's like, yeah,
back to reality.
Yeah. So, and I'm very sore because I'm always in pain. So,
well, you do have a husband helper.
I do. But, he has a really physically demanding job. So I don't like to fill his weekends with a honey-do list. I don't like to give him chores.
God, he's so selfish.
No,
I'm just teasing. He's very helpful.
He is very helpful. He would do anything I asked, but I try to minimize his chores, like home stuff when he's
Shouts out to Josh.
right. So anyway, he's actually at home right now making chili. I'm a little worried because this time he makes amazing chili, but this time he's putting all kinds of crazy ingredients in it. That
Getting a little risky.
he's getting risky, and I'm like, why change a good thing?
Yeah, don't mess up a good thing,
Yeah.
man.
So, but he's like, just trust me. And I'm like, dude, you're putting Dr. Pepper and cocoa in our chili.
Is this possibly one of those like TikTok inspired recipes that he's
It's
trying?
probably, he saw it on YouTube. In fact, fun story that actually could segue into our topic today. We're going to talk about midlife crisis, whether it's still a thing and whether it's a crisis really or an awakening, and what makes us feel midlife, and what makes us feel our age. And so 2 days ago, I guess, he had just woken up, and I had been up for several hours with all the decorations and mess. And so he's on the bed with his phone looking at all these recipes, and he's starting to talk about different kinds of marinara. He's watching a video where these Italian chefs are ranking store-bought marinara, right? And he starts talking about marinara, and then suddenly I go, wait, have we had sex yet this year? And he goes, well, yeah, of course we've... Wait, have we? I was like, I don't know. And I know what you're thinking. If you have to think about it, it's been too long, right?
Yes, but I was also thinking, is this the kind of thing that you come up with while your husband is talking about Italian sauce reviews, or like from Italian? This is the craziest thing to just randomly come up with. Like, that got you going.
Well, he must have said something. He must have made some kind of joke. He likes to make sexual innuendo kind of jokes all the time. So he must have inserted some kind of joke. And I got off track. But anyway, we sat there for a minute trying to figure out if we'd had sex yet this year. Now, if you have to think about it, it's been too long. However, we're recording this on January 15th. It's only like 2 weeks into the new year. So if 2 weeks feels to us like 6 months, I think we're doing okay.
You're doing very, very well.
We're doing very
better
well.
Than most, I would say.
But when you get to the point where you have to stop and go, wait a minute, you have to remind yourself to have sex with your husband. Like, we have to remind ourselves to have sex with each other. Right. That kind of makes me feel old.
Yeah. It's kind of like an alert on your phone. Oh, Josh, it's time. Just got the alert. You have it on repeat.
That's funny. But yeah, it feels like a long time, but it hasn't.
Okay, well, listen, I'm just going to assume good stuff happened. So good for you. Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully he was able to get back to his reviews on social media.
He went right back to it.
Okay, good.
Because after that, he started talking about tomato paste.
Yeah, I was going to say he probably was focused and ready to just conquer the day.
Oh, we didn't do it.
Oh, well.
No, we didn't stop and have sex.
Oh, well, see, you messed up the story. You should have just ended it that way, because everybody assumed, including myself, that good stuff happened because of that.
Yeah, good stuff happened.
Okay, well, now you ruined it.
Sorry. Well, it did. My point was, it made me feel old to not remember, because that you can't forget that, right? Well, yeah, you get to a certain age and you can't.
I understood. So I'm anxious to talk through some of this.
All right. So what is a midlife crisis? I mean, if we had to define it, I looked it up and I listened to a couple of experts, quote unquote experts, and they each had a different definition, but it's basically, some kind of emotional turmoil when you reach midlife, usually, like they say, 40s, where you maybe feel trapped, or you feel like, man, I've lived half my life and I haven't accomplished, X, Y, or Z. I don't know. I don't hear much about it anymore. But I remember growing up, like when I hear midlife crisis, I think of Father of the Bride, where Steve Martin dyes his hair. I think it's the second one, where they both get pregnant, right? He dyes his hair because he's going to be a grandpa. Mm-hmm. He gets that sports car.
Right.
That's what I think of.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I identify it and define it similarly. I would say it's a period, in my words, was going to be emotional distress in one's middle age. But it's like, what do we define as middle age anymore?
Right.
It's so different, I feel like, from when we grew up. I think you've said it to me before. It's 30 is the new 20, 40 is the new 30, 50 is,
right.
So on and so on. And I've read studies that said even a third of people 70 years or older identify themselves as middle-aged. It's like,
It's crazy.
Really?
So
33.3%.
It's weird how that happened because old doesn't look the same as it used to.
Absolutely not.
So like,
But why is that?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's delayed adulthood because I feel like people are waiting longer to get married. They're waiting longer to have kids. So maybe we have kind of hit a point in our culture where just by chance, 50 is the new 40, 40 is the new 30, because you're doing the things that people used to do when they were 18, 19, 20, getting married, having kids. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I think that's actually a really good point, because I know our mother just in the last 2 weeks has made comments to me about, she'll see something on TV or a show and she'll say, I didn't really get to do that because I was, pretty much married when I was 18 or 19 or whatever it was. And so in the previous generations, it's like you were younger, but you were forced to kind of just be older. You know what I mean? And so now it's like you said, it's the 18 and 19-year-olds are kids. They're not getting married until they're in their mid 20s or even 30s. And so
Right.
it's a lot different. Just hearing mom's perspective was interesting, because she said, and that was pretty common back then. I mean, you didn't get to go out and experience, the social life as a 21-year-old quote unquote kid.
Yeah.
So I definitely think you're onto something there. Midlife crisis too. It's I've looked that up a little bit, and there was a gentleman, I think he was a psychoanalyst named Elliot Jacques. Have you read this?
I don't think so.
So Elliot Jacques was a Canadian. Of course, Canadians, we said this in another podcast, like they steal all the good stuff. They come up with all the cool things. And anyway, but he was the one that coined the phrase midlife crisis in 1965, which I thought was a little bit odd, because I would just think that was a term that was used well before that, but apparently not. So it was coined not too long ago, if you think about it. And he had a client basically who had experienced, these abrupt changes in their lifestyle, and as well as just coming to grips with, their own limitations and sort of like this growing salience of morality. And that's really where he came up with that phrase. And so, I've heard songs that talk about quarter life crisis and, midlife, but I'm with you. I don't really hear it a lot anymore. So we just kind of need to unpack why that is.
Yeah, I think it was almost kind of a meme growing up, but it's just not something you hear about. And it used to always be associated with men, I think, but
Agreed.
But I think, I don't see it or hear about it as much. And so I wondered, is it still a thing, or is it a crisis, or is it an awakening? Because in my experience, I'm 45. I'll be turning 46 mid-year. And as I've gotten older, there have been things that, sure, there are some unpleasant things, but there have been things that make me go, wow, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that. So glad I'm this age, or, and so I can see where people would hit a point where their dreams are unfulfilled and they're sort of facing mortality, maybe losing elderly parents and having to, deal with those issues that make them confront some hard questions.
Right.
And I get that, but for me, I think it's been a little different.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of studies that support that a midlife crisis is still a thing. I think I read where almost half of the people 50 and older say they've experienced it. So I do believe it's still a thing, but I believe when you're asking the question of, is it a midlife crisis or is it a midlife awakening? I really kind of think it can be both.
I think so too. And also I wonder if it's like, did mom and dad feel this way when they were in the 40s?
We should have asked them that.
We should have asked that. Let's call them right now.
Yeah, okay. Beep, boop, 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 boop.
Beep, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that, I was looking recently in a photo album. Remember those photo albums, kids, where you used to take a picture with a camera and then go to the drugstore and the photo lab in the drugstore and develop them and put them inside of a.
Right. It was an experience.
So I was looking at one. Mallory was a baby, and I did the math, and Mom was like just a few years older than me in the hospital holding Mallory. And I thought, wow, that's me. That's almost me. And at that time,
you're right.
I know. And at that time, I remember thinking that Mom was, I don't know, like older.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you're.
Not the way she looked, but I felt like she was much older than she really was because of the support, the emotional support, the security you feel. So to look at that picture now and say, I'm almost that age, but back then she seemed so much older. Wow, life goes by too fast.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because, you're right. Like, people couldn't see me doing this while you were telling that story, but I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, yeah, she would have been 48 or 49.
Exactly.
Damn,
you were. See, I had to get my calculator out for that.
Well, I know that she's 67.
Oh, she'll love that.
I know that she's 67, and so our kids are almost 19 years old. So, yeah, 48, 49. But you're right, and you're going to be 46, right, in August, and I just turned 44. We talked about my birthday on Saturday, so me and you were right in that window where people say this is where people are talking more about midlife crises and that this is where it really plummets. Like, this is where your mental stability.
It's all downhill.
Yeah, it's all downhill from there. But yeah, it's interesting. So how would you? So we talked about midlife crisis and kind of where that started and who started it. But like, how would you even define midlife? Like, how would Mary Beth define that? Not trying to put you on the spot, but
what is midlife now? I mean, I feel like in order to answer that fairly and accurately, I'd have to look up what is the current life expectancy for.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's different for men and women. I'm sure it's somewhere around 75, 76-ish. Wouldn't you think?
I would think 80s.
You think 80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we live longer.
Okay. Yeah, you might be right. Maybe I'm thinking of like studies I saw 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe it's changed, but I know as a 44-year-old, I consider my life half lived so far.
I do too.
You know what I mean? So I'm not like, oh my gosh, I'm 3/4 of the way there. In my mind, I've been through the first half. I'm thinking in like sports ball. You call it sports ball. I'm thinking in sports term. Like, this, the first half just did this. The horn just sounded. the horn just sounded. We're at halftime. Is what I'm calling it, halftime of my life.
I actually thought of that the other day. I thought of that same analogy.
Yeah. So you and I are coming out to the third quarter. We're about ready to start the third quarter.
Yeah. So this does feel like midlife to me.
Yeah. I mean, I would kind of define it, or, it's sort of like life's pivot point. So it's from early adulthood to, some studies will call it older age or older adulthood. I'll call it later adulthood to be kind. Right. But it just depends on which, study you read. It can be anywhere from 45 to 55. I've seen some that say 40 to 60, whatever. It's kind of around that same window. And I just think that, it can be uncomfortable, where you feel like your old self is gone and your new self is sort of yet to be determined. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like this stage of liminality where you're in this transition between two identities almost.
Right.
It can be confusing, but it can also be a really neat opportunity to explore yourself more and learn new and fresh perspectives. So I think that's really what I'm ready for. I'm excited about.
Me too.
It's very, I thought this was very cool too, because I really feel like in early adulthood, or even like as a kid, you're thinking about possibilities and opportunities. What do I get to be when I grow up? Mm-hmm. And now you and I are talking about this being our second half of our life, and I'm talking about opportunities and fresh perspective. So it's really kind of a neat sort of, I don't know, what would you call that? What word would that be? It's kind of similar. I mean, is that a paradox? What is that?
It's like a New Year's resolution for your life. It's like halfway through.
Yeah, I don't know. Just as I was thinking about that, I'm like, wow, that's weird how it can be similar. Your thoughts can be similar about what you have to look forward to as a kid versus an adult. And it can kind of be similar. Anyway, thought that was interesting. So yeah, that's how I would define it.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. I've been thinking a lot about when did I first start feeling old? When did I first start feeling my age? Because age after you turn 21, there's not much, a birthday's just a birthday.
I said that to my basketball players this week. They were like, "How's your birthday today, coach?" I'm like, "I'm 44. It's just a day.
It's just a day."
I'm not looking forward to going out to bars because I've done that for 20 plus years. And the other thing was better insurance. We always used to joke about that. Better car insurance, cheaper car insurance. Like we literally have nothing to look forward to.
I mean, it's even if you celebrate, even people who look forward to their birthdays and celebrate. I mean, I see people on Facebook, mostly women. It's like, it's my birthday month. I'm like, you get a day. Okay. But, so even if you celebrate it and look forward to it and all that stuff, it's still just a number.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are points, I would say once you hit 30, I guess, there are points where you start to realize, wow, I'm 30, whatever.
And I'm not getting any younger.
Because otherwise you don't really think about the number. So when did I first start? I've been thinking about that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I do remember a couple of moments sticking out to me. Like, I remember my students, it seemed like once a week there would be a student who would ask, who's David Bowie?
Oh, yeah. So cultural references
Sure.
and things like that.
I remember students not knowing who Bob Hope was. And I was like, really? Bob Hope? And then that was bad. But then David Bowie,
Yeah,
a couple of years later,
I was going to say, he's
like,
not
come
like
on.
super. That's not like black and white TV.
But it wasn't just one kid. It was like the whole class was like, who's David Bowie? And I'm like, who's David Bowie?
You've never seen Labyrinth?
I'm old. I remember I got a short haircut one year, and a student came up to my desk to do something, ask a question, and then she goes, "I like your hair. It's really cute." I said, "Thanks." And she goes, "You look like a mom." I was like, "Aw."
You're like, thanks?
Thanks.
Question mark.
I think the first one, though, I think I can trace it back to an actual first moment. And I think we were all together. We had the kids. They were little. We were going to Huber's one Saturday together. And I remember rubbing my earlobes. We were sitting at the table, and my earlobes hurt, man. They were just sore. And I was like, Mom asked what was wrong. I was like, my earlobes are sore. They hurt. And I was like, do your earlobes hurt? She said, when you get a certain age, everything hurts. And I was like, no. I said, really, Mom, your earlobes? And then she looked me directly in the eye, sort of centered, and said, everything hurts. And so I remember that moment. And ever since, I relive it. Like every time I have an ache or a pain, I'm like, oh, she was right. She was right. So those are a couple of times I can remember.
So that's when you first noticed your age? Or that's
those
just when
sort of things made me go,
Okay.
oh, okay, I'm getting old. I didn't feel old at the time, but those are things that happened that made me go, oh, wow, I'm getting older.
Yeah, understood. I remember her doing that. I don't feel old either. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I mean, I don't feel old either. I'm kind of like you. I feel sharp. I feel in my mind, in my body, when I'm thinking about things, I feel like I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm young. But I kind of first noticed my age. This may seem kind of hokey, but like the first time because we have kids the same age, first time, we had our own kids and they called me dad. I remember the first time I was ever called dad, and granted, I was only 25. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I would have been, when was he able to start talking? Anyway, I may have been 26, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time I was ever called dad, and it was a great moment, but I remember thinking, wow, I'm our dad now. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, okay, I'm responsible for another life. Right. And it wasn't that I looked physically old or I had gray hairs at the time, but that's when I really noticed, like, oh, okay, I'm getting older.
Yeah.
A human being is calling me dad and relying on me for things. It was scary, but it was cool at the same time. This is okay. I hope you can relate to this. And, just obviously jump in. I don't want to hijack the conversation, but I specifically took a note down to not forget to tell you this because I think you might be able to relate. My hands. I first started noticing my age a couple years ago when, again, I'm 44, but I was in someone's car, and I just vividly remember the person like made a too rough of a turn or sharp of a turn, and I put my hand on the oh shit handle. And I just so happened to look at my hand, and my hands were kind of wrinkly on the top. Like they had like these, like, I don't know, they're not really scales, but they were like, they looked different. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Does that make sense? You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
I looked at my hand and I remember going, oh God. Like, oh God. Like, what is that? My hand doesn't look like a 20-year-old's hand anymore. Now, it doesn't look like, really old, like the Crypt Keeper old, but it was noticeable. You know what I mean? Like these little lines here, it was just noticeable to me.
Yes.
And sure, it's probably silly, but I just remember looking at that going, oh God. But I was thinking it to myself. I didn't want to bring it up in conversation with whoever I was with,
Right.
but it never left my brain. Like I just kept thinking about that over and over. So I noticed it with my hands not too long ago. That kind of bummed me out. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure I wasn't the only one.
Yeah. For me, it's not so much the hands yet. I moisturize.
Okay. See, I don't do
regularly.
That stuff. Okay.
My body is head to toe lotion every single day. So not yet in the hands, but it's the forearm. Like you reach a certain age, women, and you get fat on your forearm. And that's not a place that's supposed to hold fat. And so when you start to get fluffy like me, you got that forearm look. It's weird. I don't know.
Well, if it makes you feel any better,
maybe that's just like I'm not feeling old. I'm feeling fluffy.
well, I was gonna say, if it makes you feel any better, our parents, we were eating dinner a few nights ago before they left for Florida, and we had this conversation about age and growing up. And Mom specifically made a comment about you and Jennifer and me to a degree, but you two and Dad, and she's right. She said, if you think about my side of the family. Grandpa Fred, and Freddie, I think, still looks younger-ish for his age,
right?
Because he's still got the brown hair and all that. But as far as like the facial features being like more wrinkled, like on the Everett side, Grandpa was pretty wrinkly, and Grandma was even kind of wrinkly.
Yeah.
She said, if you look at your sisters, they favor more of your dad's side, and even your dad at 70, his face isn't like real wrinkly.
Right.
She said, your sisters, if you notice, don't have real wrinkly faces. And
right.
I said, you're right. I looked at her and I go, oh, good grief. So for everybody listening, I favor my mother's side of the family.
Yes.
And so
what that means.
I have that to look forward to. Awesome. But no, I thought that was very cool because we weren't even talking about this episode coming up. She just brought it up in conversation. I was like, you are absolutely right. And I started like visualizing your all's faces. I'm like, you all do have younger looking faces, like without any noticeable wrinkles. So good for you.
Yeah. I appreciate it now, but when I was growing up, I had very oily skin, as the Ledbetters tend to have very oily skin. I remember Mom saying when I was in high school, because it seemed like all my friends had such clear skin, and I was constantly breaking out, and it used to annoy the crap out of me. Like, why is this happening to me and everyone else has clear skin? And Mom told me, she was like, you'll appreciate it one day because oily skin means, fewer wrinkles. And
I didn't know that. So.
Yeah. So she was right. And I don't, when it comes to age, I don't really have a problem with wrinkles. I see them in my face.
We're always going to be more critical of our own selves.
Yeah.
You're going to see that.
When I get in the up
don't.
close mirror, it's a little frightening, but I don't care. I'm not, I'm not worried about that necessarily. But yeah, I do remember her telling me when I was young. I was like, no, I won't. I won't appreciate it.
Right. Yeah. So, well, anyway, I just, the hands thing, I could not wait to tell you that because it reminded me of Phyllis on The Office when she looked at her hands.
Yes. When she was spaced out.
Yeah, it took me to that episode for some reason. But and then, obviously, this is like a recurring thing with a lot of people our age, like grays in the hair, or I have a facial hair and there's quite a bit of white in it, and it just getting more white by the year. And,
you know what? I'd love to go full gray.
You would right now even?
Yeah, but I'm too young to pull it off. Well, you know how like Mom decided to just go full gray. She used to.
But she's in her mid late 60s though.
But it's long. It's not the It's not the typical old haircut when you're supposed to chop your hair off. Everybody gets the same haircut when they turn a certain age. It's longer. It's to her shoulders, and it looks fantastic. And I think because longer gray hair has not really been, you know, I guess that would be a faux pas until recently. I mean, I've noticed in magazines and TV commercials that women with longer gray hair are really, really rocking it. So,
Yeah, I think I agree.
So I do look forward to the day when I can
Yeah, you'll rock it.
when I can go gray, but keep it long.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. There's very attractive women that have longer gray hair. Agree.
Yeah.
I have a couple others too.
Yeah.
Did you? I don't want to steal your thunder.
No. I mean, I'm.
I hear my knees crack when I bend down, so I don't know what equate the sound to, but it just sounds like a crackling noise. And as you know, I had a bad knee from high school sports, and had surgery on it in college, or I'm sorry, I had surgery on it when I first heard it in high school. It was the strongest it had ever felt in college. Then I re-injured it again, never got it fixed. So I just kind of walked around for 20 years with this bum right knee. Hurts to drive for extended periods of time. Can't really straighten it. So that one's always been kind of messed up. But even my good knee, what I would call my good knee, because I put so much weight and pressure on my on that one to kind of like offset, the pain for the other one.
Yeah, you overcompensate.
Exactly. So that one's starting to crack when I go down. Like if I bend down to pick something up, I hear them both making that noise, and it's like, it's cringy.
Yeah.
But that's kind of another one where I'm like, yeah, you don't experience that as a kid or a young adult. And then lastly, I had, you were a teacher. I wasn't a teacher, but I coached basketball, and even some other sports, but like former players. I noticed my age when I started seeing former players have their own houses and their and wives and
Right.
kids. And I'm the director of operations at this trucking company. It's like, I coached you in 5th grade.
That's not possible.
So
yeah.
so that kind of stuff makes me notice my age a little bit.
Yeah, my students are frozen at age 18 in my head because they graduate and I don't get to see them. But I keep up with them on Facebook, and I have most of my Facebook friends I think are former students, and it is so weird over the years seeing them in these beautiful homes, and they've got 3 kids and they're doing so well, and it's like, wow, time is just flying by. That does remind me. It reminds me that I'm getting up there.
Yeah.
I started noticing, I remember early on, I guess in my 30s. So when I started watching college sports ball and noticing the student section and the cheerleaders, they all looked like babies. I remember that distinctly, that transition in my life, watching games going, you're not in college. That's not what college looks like.
Yeah, because when we were kids, student sections, they looked like they were 30 and 40 years old.
Right. Even now, like we said, old doesn't look old anymore. Even now, if you look at a picture of someone who's 18 in the 80s, they look 30.
Right, and I think some of that was fashion.
Yeah.
The hair choices and things like that.
It's just weird.
Right, and I don't want to lose that point. I think about that often too. I will often think about, what if you took a 17 or 18-year-old kid today and put them in those exact clothes and put a mustache on a boy, or feathered their hair in the middle or whatever? Would they look that same way? I think about this stuff all the time.
I know, it's weird.
It's like where my mind goes. It's crazy. So what makes you, okay, so we talked about, did you have any more on how you noticed your age, or when did you
No.
first? So we talked about, when did you first notice your age, but what makes you feel old? Like, what makes Mary Beth feel old?
Oh, I can tell you. First of all, it makes me feel old that all the doctors, the dentists, the nurses, everyone's younger than me. When did all of my healthcare people become kids? That blows my mind. That blows.
Is
my
that like
mind.
the majority of your provider
Yes,
folks
sir.
that you go to? Is that like your dentist? Is that your primary care?
My dentists they look like they are fresh out of college, but they're probably 30s. I don't know.
So because of that,
The hygienists, they're just like, they look like they just stepped out of the sorority house.
Delta, Delta,
Delta,
Delta.
Delta.
Now,
Yeah, they look so young. They
so
look like
on
kids.
so let me ask you a question on that. So because I don't have that on mine, but because of that,
Because you don't go to the doctor.
it's true. I have a funny story about that if you want to hear it.
I do.
Okay, let me tell it real quick, and,
Okay.
then we'll go into this. So recently, I had to go to the doctor. I haven't been to the primary care doctor in like 4 or 5 years. So I called the last primary care doctor I use, which is Dr. Grief. So I called Dr. Grief's office, and they were like, "Sir, because you haven't been here since 2019, you're not a regular patient anymore. So we can tell you where we think you can get in quickly through a similar network and whatever, and it could be closer to your home." I didn't get to go to my regular doctor because I hadn't been there in 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
So
That's the way it works.
so now I have a new primary care doctor,
You
but
bet.
they're closer, which is good.
Good.
So anyway,
They're all, Joe, they're babies.
right. So let me ask you this question. So because of that stigma of, wow, you look like you just got out of dental school or you just got out of
Yeah.
whatever medical school, does it give you any angst?
No.
Like, okay, so you're comfortable.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, it doesn't make me worry about their qualifications or their experience. I mean, I trust them.
That's good.
I think that the white coat still means a lot to me. So I respect their expertise.
Yeah, it kind of signifies a commitment level,
yeah.
a dedication.
Yeah, all it means is that I'm old. That's all.
Yeah, I
no.
was just curious to know that. Yeah, that makes you feel old, but does that actually like change your behavior in terms of, well, I'm not going to go to that person
Right,
anymore
no.
because I don't feel like they're good enough
No.
to treat me.
No, not one
Okay,
bit.
because I would
Not one bit.
I would have to believe there's people out there our age that feel that way.
Oh,
that will make
probably.
will change their pattern of behavior because of it.
Right.
I would think there's got to be people out there scared enough
Crotchety
to be like,
old
yeah,
people.
The dude's 23. I cannot.
You know what? I know what people you're talking about. I believe we call them boomers.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Yes.
Boomers would do that. I'll tell you what else makes me feel old. To see that fashion from our high school days, it's coming back. Mallory actually has a pair of what they call mom jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are a thing now.
I know. I'm familiar. My daughter wears them.
And I remember when mom jeans was a skit on SNL. Amy Poehler and what's the other girl's name?
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey, but real funny chick. Oh my gosh. Dark complected.
Oh, Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph. Yeah.
She's amazing, by the way.
Oh God, I love her so much. But there's this commercial, this SNL commercial where they're wearing these jeans that have elastic waistbands and they go real high up and they're like, I'm a mom. And they're just, I don't know. I mean, so yeah, mom jeans, crop tops. I get crop tops and halter tops. Are those the same?
You're asking me that? I have no idea.
Yeah. I've noticed 90s fashion coming back. Pleats, dear God, pleats.
Are you excited about that, or
No.
are you indifferent about it? Or
No.
are you mad about it?
I'm not mad about it, but if pleats make a full comeback, I will be upset and I'll have a lot to say about it.
Okay.
But pleats are coming back a little bit in terms of like, I see a lot of it on TikTok. Mm-hmm. They have these pleated trouser pants that everybody's like flipping out over. Pleats are the worst thing ever created. Unless you're size 6 or smaller, you can't pull off pleats, male or female. So
Okay, fair.
But anyway, I've noticed that some of the trends are coming back. This one is very sobering, and this one might make you take pause.
Okay.
I was talking to my supervisor a few weeks back, and we love to talk about TV shows and movies, and we were talking about what we were watching, and she's like, my family and I have been watching Home Improvement. And she said,
Like Tim Allen's Home Improvement?
Tim Allen's Home Improvement. Right.
Love it.
As a family, they were watching it. And she has like 4 or 5 kids, she's got, and they're all young. I mean, I think her oldest just turned like a teenager, 13. I think that's his age. Anyway, she said, her youngest boy, Jude, goes, "What's that noise? What's that noise that keeps coming up? Like while in the show?" And she goes, you mean the laughter? He goes, yeah, what's all that laughing? And she said, wow. She said, TV shows used to be filmed in front of audiences, and the audiences would laugh at the jokes. I had to take a minute. The laugh track. It was like head exploding. I'm old. We're old. The laugh track. The kids didn't know what the noise was. What's all that racket? Think about that.
So they were in awe of the laugh track?
They were annoyed.
Oh, annoyed
by the laughter.
because it was constant.
They were like, what is that noise? And she's like, that's laughter from the audience. Like, audience?
Oh, my.
Wow. Like, it made me, I mean, shows aren't, we don't have shows like that anymore. The sitcom is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't believe we do.
It's just not what it was.
Right.
But for the kids to not even know what it was, I was like, that hit me. That hit me.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that one. That's a good one. What else you got? You got any others?
No, I'm good.
Well, I have some. What makes me feel old is knowing episodes for like old black and white sitcoms. So I watch Leave It to Beaver, some of those old shows. Mm-hmm. I've even gotten more into some Twilight Zone stuff that I watched as a kid with Dad, and I'm like, wow, I remember these episodes, and it's all black and white. Mm-hmm. That makes me feel old because I know my kids would be like, what is that show even? What is that show? Like, what are those people doing? Why are they, they wouldn't even know the name of the show.
Yeah.
Leave It to Beaver. My Bryson would be like, what is that? So like, knowing all the different seasons and episodes of some of those older black and white shows. Here's one that you'll probably like. Classmates that I went to school with in high school. Some of them are now grandmothers and grandfathers. Put your mind around that.
Yes. My husband is a grandpa.
Right. So, I had several girls in my grade that got pregnant pretty young, but even the ones that got pregnant right after high school, some of them are grandmothers and grandfathers.
Yeah.
Some of the guys. So
crazy.
That makes me feel old. I'm not there yet. I'm pretty close. Both of us are pretty close, I would say.
Yes, we are.
And then this was a new one I thought of. We were preparing for a basketball game, and some of our players were out there warming up. We had a kid that's a senior, just turned 18. Actually, we had the same birthday, believe it or not. So he turned 18. This is why the conversation even started. He called me his birthday twin. He's like, I'm 18. I can go. He's like, I can actually go to jail now. I go, Lucas, but don't. Like, that's not an experience you want to try out. And so we were laughing about that. And I said, Lucas, I'm 44. And like we said earlier, just another day. He's like, what are you going to do for your birthday? I'm like, there's nothing to do. I don't need cupcakes or cake or whatever. And so the conversation then shifted to, I said, Lucas, I'm thinking about it now. I said, I have had my driver's license for 28 years.
Longer than you've been alive, kid.
10 years longer than he'd been alive. And he looked at me with like he had just seen a ghost. And he's like, whoa. He's like, 28 years. He's like, I can't even like wrap my mind around that. I'm like, he goes, that's crazy. I go, yeah, really crazy. 28 years I've had my license.
That's funny.
Another thing I like to do, and I like to share with you and our sister and our parents when I do it, I Google actors' ages of older shows and movies.
Yes, you do.
I love doing that. I want our audience to know that's very fulfilling. If you want to get into that. If you want to get into that hobby, go watch an older movie that you were really into and Google the main actors and actresses' ages, and you will be astonished if you're around our age how much there's similarities. I mean, I think what was the main one I told you guys recently? It blew my mind. Brian Doyle Murray in the Christmas Vacation movie was 43. He was 43. People, 43 years old. So I'm older than Brian Doyle Murray was in that movie. I can't.
He looked 60.
It's difficult. It's very, very difficult because he was balding and had white hair, and you had seen him in a lot of other stuff before.
Yeah.
He was in Caddyshack, and even in Caddyshack, I thought he was in his 40s or whatever. So that really, really messed with me a little bit. And then Dad found a couple on Leave It to Beaver. There was this old gentleman that Beaver always took to at this fire station, and he had white hair, and he looked like in Leave It to Beaver age, he looked like he was 70.
Yeah.
Dad Googled the guy, and he was like 54.
Wow.
And so I do stuff like that, and that makes me feel old.
Yeah, you send those to me, and I'm like, Joe,
It's amazing.
hurts.
I don't know why I get into that so much, but it's just depressing. And then the last one I had was, the oldies music lineup today. I told you recently, about 2 weeks ago, when we were talking, I think we had just got done eating at the China buffet, and I said, Dad turned it on 107.7, which is our local oldie station, and they were playing Pearl Jam's Better Man from the mid-90s. I couldn't believe it.
Oh.
I almost cried. Because, when we were younger, the oldie station was The Who and Beatles and...
Or even further
Right.
than that.
Yeah, exactly. So...
Oldies. Ugh. Who they think they are.
So Pearl Jam's Better Man, which was their Vitality album, which was after their best album.
Right.
So I'm like, good grief. So that one really...
That's
hit me.
hard.
That one hit me hard.
That is hard. Well, why don't we take a break? And when we come back, we'll talk about what makes us feel young.
I can't wait. And as Victor Hugo said, 40 is the old age of youth, 50 the youth of old age.
Ooh.
Very wise man.
Ponder.
Think about that.
Okay, we're back. What makes us feel young? Joe?
Well, I can think of a few things. Playing games, anything that's, sort of like a brain teaser or mental stimulation makes me feel young.
Mm-hmm.
Watching sports, because that's kind of what I was used to as a kid. So when I watch sports, I feel like a young kid watching sports, trying to stay competitive, and I get into that.
I don't, because I'm looking at the student section going, damn, they look like little kids.
And you also call it sports ball.
You're not.
Maintaining a sense of humor, laughter, that kind of stuff makes me feel young. And then just staying active, working out a few days a week, 4 days a week. What about you?
I don't do any of those things. I'll tell you what, I feel young on a superficial level. My hair makes me feel young.
Your hair makes you feel young.
Yeah, because, like I said earlier, I'm reaching that age where I'm supposed to get the short, can I speak to the manager haircut?
The Karen.
Yeah.
Look.
And my hair is long, and I wear it curly. Although, I guess it could also make me feel old because the way I style it. We were watching Big Bang a few months back. I remember it was in one of the early seasons where Penny wears her hair like mine, curly. And Mallory just happened to see it on the screen that we were watching it. And she goes, "Oh, cool. The early 2000s curls." And I was like, what? What? So I may need to style it differently.
Okay, but like in general, you're thinking your hair because of the way it's styled?
Yeah, and
You really don't. Can I ask, do you color it?
I do.
Is that offensive to ask? Okay.
No.
I was going to say, it looks very dark still. I don't see any grays. I'm sure.
They're hidden.
Well, I'm sure they are.
They're there.
But it looks great.
Thank you. And I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't mind being gray. I kind of look forward to that, actually, so I can stop all this maintenance.
Okay.
Another thing that makes me feel young, and this is kind of sad, the thought of losing one of our parents, because I would feel like an orphan. I would feel lost. And it's so hard to see on Facebook, for example. We have there are plenty of people that we went to school with who are around our age who've already lost parents. And, they'll post anniversaries of their passing, and it's just so my heart breaks for them, because I think, oh, what would I do? When we had that situation with Dad, which would be 7 years.
Yeah, I was going to say 2017.
Sometimes it feels like yesterday.
Yeah, that was a hard couple weeks.
That was really hard. And at that time, and even today, I feel like losing a parent makes me feel like a child.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a hard one to think about.
Yeah.
It's really, that stuff's really hard for me to even think about. So
Right.
I don't even like going there. But I think when Dad got sick, I felt like that was the first time I ever felt like I was just forced to accept life without dad.
Yes.
So I was already like preparing myself mentally to how can I help take care of mom?
Yes.
Not that she needed my help to take care of her, but it just instinctively I wanted to protect our mother
Yeah.
from being in a life without dad. And I think I broke down in the utility room on the way to the hospital when we first got that call. And I think you actually called me, in fact, and said, you need to get to the hospital like now.
Yeah.
And I remember I made the kids get in the car. They were younger, obviously. I made them get in the car first so that they didn't see me put my hand on the wall and put my head on my arm and say, I don't want to lose him yet.
That's interesting that you say that because...
or I think my exact words were, I'm not ready to let him go, because it just felt like it was coming.
Yeah. Well, the night that it was the worst, I literally cried myself to sleep, and I cried, I can't lose my dad. Mm-hmm. And I just said it, I screamed it mm-hmm. through the house. I felt just lost, but you said you didn't want your kids to see you cry. When we were at the hospital when Grandpa was passing away, I remember Bryson, it was that moment where they said it's time, and mm-hmm. Mom broke. She said, I'm not ready. She panicked mm-hmm. and she grabbed onto you, and you just had to wrap your arms around her. She's like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I looked over at Bryson, and he looked at Mallory, and he goes, and it was a cute moment. He said, that's the first time I've saw my dad cry. And I thought, oh my God, because when we were little, to see your parents cry was...
It was a big deal.
It was unsettling.
It was unsettling.
And so that was kind of a transitional moment in my life to watch that happen, to watch Mom reach out for you for support. So those sort of things, are not fun to think about, like you said, but definitely makes me feel not young, but like a child young. Mm-hmm.
Emotionally sort of like immature and young. And I don't know if immature is the right word, but I get where you're going with that. Yeah, that's tough. Because
I remember when our parents were our age and they knew everything and they could protect us from anything. And I still feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. They're always viewed as strong.
Yes.
Even when now we know they were probably behind closed doors, being vulnerable and having moments of weakness. But as kids, you see them as strong all the time.
Yeah, and invincible. And I don't feel like I have all the answers. Like, surely they had all the answers. Mm-hmm. I just don't. Yeah. Yeah,
I don't really remember him crying other than I think his sister's death. I think I caught him crying in the bedroom. Yeah. But with his back turned even. So like.
Right.
And then when Grandma Ledbetter passed away, mm-hmm. He came up and I think it was Navy. You know, he put his hand on her head. He kind of said something like, you know, one life leaves us and another life begins. Navy was really, really young at the time. And he broke down a little bit saying that. Like, not a full breakdown, but it was enough where I was like, you know, even then I was 27 or 28, and I was like, ugh. You know, it kind of, it jarred me a little bit.
Yeah, it took you back.
Yeah, and I was older and had kids and career of my own, and I felt like a little kid when he did that. So...
Well, I don't mean to be a downer.
That's okay. It's gonna get peppier. I can tell.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't think of anything else that really makes me feel young, and that's okay with me.
What about things like, this isn't on mine, but I'm just curious of your thought. Like, what about, do you like cereal? This might be a sticker
I love
question.
cereal.
That kind of stuff makes you feel young,
dude. Just last week, because Josh goes to the grocery. Mm-hmm. That's his contribution. And I was like, give me some Lucky Charms. And I said, wait, no, give me some Captain Crunch, but with the crunch berries. And he goes, no, I like it without. And I was like, well, then get me Lucky Charms. So we're like arguing over cereal.
Well, then pick them out, Joshua.
Yes.
I just thought that one just hit me because I still love cereal.
I still love cereal.
Cereal. And old sitcoms we grew up on. I could still sit and watch those.
I know.
Those kind of make me feel like a kid when I watch those.
Exactly. Saved by the Bell. Gosh, I guess those things make me feel young.
Yeah, when you go, we'll go back and watch like Family Ties or Growing Pains or something like that. It makes me feel like a kid.
Hey, 2 years ago when I was living in your basement while our house was being built, I watched Alf.
It was one of my favorites.
I know. That was a lot of fun.
I think it's important that we let everybody know, not to derail, but I had an Alf doll that I used as a wrestling buddy. So just so we all are on the same page. And I had an Alf sleeping bag,
Oh,
so I liked Alf. That
it's
was a good
etched
one.
in my memory forever.
Yeah.
You and the Alf doll wrestling.
Yeah, he lost an eye
Yeah, he did.
because of one of my wrestling moves that I put on
Poor
him.
guy.
Yep. Okay. Well, those were good ones.
But yeah, I don't know what else makes me feel young. But
I think trying, also too, not on mine, but I'm just talking about it. But I think like trying new things makes people feel young. You know, whether that's, you know, learning to play an instrument or painting or whatever, hiking. If you're not a hiker, I'm not a hiker, but you know, just trying new things.
something
Yeah,
new.
I think that kind of makes you feel refreshed and kind of re-energized and youthful. I think that can be the case in some situations.
I don't often try new things. So that's probably why I
I
don't feel
I
young.
know this. I wasn't really gearing that comment towards you, Mary Beth.
But I can feel the energy coming from you.
Yeah.
I don't mind change and I'm not afraid of it, but
I mean, what about like dressing young? Like, if there is such a thing, like dressing young. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
well, I was thinking about that.
Or dressing hip to the culture.
Does my wardrobe make me feel young? Let me tell you this. I put on an outfit that I thought made me look like Penny. Not early Big Bang Penny, but last 3 seasons where she's like, you know.
And did this work against you?
I thought I was dressed like Penny, and I went to Mallory's room and said, "Does this look okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, you look like a mom."
Oh, my Lord. Shot down.
So no, my wardrobe apparently does not make me.
Yeah, I'm probably lucky in that category because I coach basketball, so I'm like around these teenage boys, and I see what they wear, and I kind of wear similar stuff when I coach. Like I wear joggers and hoodies, and yes, and I wear like these cool tennis shoes that we get for coaching, and so yeah, that makes me feel young.
I try to stay current, and I swore to myself when I was in college. I even had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we swore to ourselves we would never, ever lose our edge. And yeah, my wardrobe is apparently not up to speed. But I don't know.
I think some people can overdo that and try too hard. So
Yes.
you gotta have that balance.
Yeah, I don't like.
Don't look like a try hard when you do it.
Right, like the dude in his 50s wearing like a, I don't know, some kind of distressed T-shirt, AC/DC with like cargo pants or cargo shorts.
Right. Yeah.
Like my husband dresses.
Way to call him out. What's up, Josh? I make him go to the grocery. He can't dress worth a, you know what? We love Josh.
So cute.
Yeah, he's the man.
No, he's cute.
He's the man.
Yeah, I need some help in the wardrobe department, I guess.
We'll just have Mallory help you.
Yeah. No, because all she wears is hoodies and leggings. That's all they wear.
Okay, yeah. That part is different, I feel.
Very different.
I feel like when you and I were in high school, we cared about our appearance.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You
yes.
you didn't want to be ridiculed for wearing something silly, and now they all dress in pajamas.
Now they dress like they just rolled out of bed.
Exactly. So.
Well, I have to say, I don't see midlife as a bad thing. I've actually kind of enjoyed getting older in a lot of ways. Would I go back? Do I miss anything about being young? Other than my waistline, I miss a strong pelvic floor.
Okay, so now we're getting okay, that's good. So now we're getting into what we miss about being young. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so you miss just physicality of it.
Yeah, like not hurting all the time and being able to squat and being able to sneeze without peeing.
Is there more to this?
But I don't miss any. Oh, I could go on for days about that, but you don't want to hear it. I don't actually miss much about being young, honestly.
Yeah, I can't sit here and say that I dwell on it so much. I would like to have certain situations over. Like I would like to have a redo in some cases, but I think everybody would.
Yeah.
But I do miss a few things. I miss our parents being younger, and just that feeling of I'm going to have them forever, and you know they're still fairly active, and which I'm not saying our parents are like sedentary, you know, all day long. But they're retired, they're enjoying their life, but I just miss them being younger. And then but I think it's more to the point of I feel like they're going to live forever.
Right.
I liked not having any responsibility. I miss that. I miss just like going about my day and just kind of doing whatever I felt like doing, and I didn't have to worry about other
Yeah.
human beings to take care of. I didn't have to worry about bills and
I thought
jobs.
about that. I thought about that when I was I was asking myself, what do I miss? I mean, obviously I miss things about our childhood and like Christmas. Dad made holidays. Every holiday was a
Amazing.
big deal.
Amazing.
It just felt magical. I miss the magical feeling of being a kid. But I realized when I was thinking about all this, like responsibility, because I'm the one who handles the finances, and I don't enjoy cleaning the house, but I do it every week. Just staying on top of that sort of stuff. I have to say, I realized something about myself. I realized how much I hate authority. I was a good kid and I followed the rules and I respected my elders and I didn't get in trouble. But now that I'm an adult, like once I started taking care of myself, I realized how much I effing hate being told what to do. Hate it.
I don't think that's real uncommon, to be honest with you.
Hate it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty normal. I mean,
do?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I don't think anybody likes being told what they need to go do or what they have to do, or they don't like their, fingers being in their face saying, you have to go here, you have to go there, you have to do this, you have to do that. I don't think anybody really likes that. But we grew up with a military dad and a mom that was, very respectful and grew up with a military dad. So I feel like we probably didn't like being told what to do, but we were respectful in how to handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't have problems with authority in the, just in general. But now, I don't miss that. I don't miss that at all. But I didn't realize it until I was on my own, and I would take the responsibility in exchange for, just nobody telling me what to do.
That's
Like if you don't pay my bills, you don't get a say.
Right. Yeah, I can get down with that. But yeah, no responsibility. I think as a kid, I think others probably did too. When you were a young kid, you felt untouchable. You felt invincible because you had the protection of your parents and the security of your parents, and you pretty much just came home from school, and if you had homework, you finished that really fast, but you just didn't have any other responsibilities. And I remember that was always kind of a cool feeling.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was one. Christmases. I mean, I miss that about our youth because, like you said, Dad made those amazing, along with other holidays as well. But Christmas just always felt different as a kid, so I definitely missed that. Yeah. When you still believe in Santa Claus and no, wait, he's real.
Right.
But Dad was just a master at that. He was a master at making the magic come alive, and
his excitement was contagious. It still is. He still gets excited. He still gets thrilled about Halloween and Christmas.
But I mean, you think about how we treat Christmas. I'm just picking on Christmas, but you think about how we treat it as adults. It's all because of him.
Exactly.
And I talk to these kids now, and I'm like, "Have you ever seen this movie, this Christmas movie?" They're like, "No, I've never even heard of it." I'm like, "What?
What?
Wait, what?
Criminal.
How can you live life without even knowing what this movie is?"
Right.
So I loved being a kid around that time. And then, taking family trips where, as an adult, I've taken trips with mom and dad, with the kids, here and there, but just like being on road trips as kids together.
That was a lot of fun.
Dad always was joking around and being silly, and mom was laughing at him.
And they paid for everything.
And, all you cared about was like being at a cool hotel or a motel and like going to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, that was and swimming at like a pool or a beach. And so they just always, I feel like they did a really good job of making that kind of stuff memorable and exciting and something to look forward to. So yeah, those are the things I miss the most about, my youth.
Well, what's good about this age then?
Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
I think, life experiences. I think about stuff that I've been through at my age up to this point, and I feel like, I've had some pretty cool and interesting life experiences. So I think that's good that you get to experience different things with different people, meet a lot of different people and network and, build that out and have people that you can lean on for things. And I don't know. I think friendships and stuff like that. So just life experiences in general have been good about this age that I've got to do that. I still feel like I'm young enough to be social, like, outside of the house, but it won't look ridiculous. I'm assuming when I'm in my 60s and 70s, I'm going to be at home every night. It's not as socially acceptable to go out and, maybe have a drink and go watch a game, with a friend or, so I'm still kind of young enough to do some of that. So I kind of feel like I'm right at that sweet spot age where I'm not going to get made fun of for going to do it.
Who would make fun of you if you were 60 going out to a bar and watching a
I'm
game?
not necessarily saying I'm going to get made fun of, but I think about like if I'm out with a best friend of mine and, we all have kids and we say, hey, let's just meet up to go have a drink and watch a game. If we saw like a 70-year-old there by himself, you'd probably be like,
Oh, how sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm
see.
not saying there's anything wrong with it.
Okay.
But helping, another thing I really like about this age is helping younger generations, like passing down knowledge. I think that's really cool that I'm at a spot or an age in my life where I've had those experiences. I've had those career or life experiences where I can really pass that down and, do some good. So it's almost like giving back. And it's really weird to like be somebody that somebody has to lean on for that kind of stuff.
I know. You were so wacky when you were a kid. It's hard
I was kind of goofy.
It's hard to... It's awesome to see the man that you've become, but it's odd.
Yeah.
Too.
Like even recently at my work, I've had a couple people, at least one in particular, that was like, hey, can you be my mentor? And I was like, wow, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I was like, me?
I don't think the person knew what they were asking.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was, I won't forget it. It was because I remember doing that myself as a young 23 or 24-year-old where I had to rely on a mentor or ask someone to be my mentor. And now I'm in that place where I've had, almost 20 years in my industry. And I'm like, wow, I'm that guy that people are relying on to be a mentor. That's really neat. I think that's really cool. And you can't really get that without age
Right.
or experience. So,
sure.
Yeah.
I would agree with you on the experiences, life experiences, both good and bad, that have brought me to this point, made me who I am. I actually love knowing who I am and not caring what anybody thinks. It's been many, many, many years since I have cared what people think. I'm nice to people. I care what people think in terms of like, I'm not going to go out and act crazy and awful to people. But I just mean, it's nice not to be bothered by if someone doesn't like you or isn't nice to you, or it's nice being able to be upfront. It's nice to know yourself well enough to express your needs and to get those needs met. I've learned how to communicate in a better way for a better quality of life, a better quality of marriage, etc.
Good for you. Because I think there's a lot of people in our generation are still searching for that. That the ability to really know who they are and
oh my gosh, that's the
and
best
to not have
part.
to worry about pettiness and
Ugh.
Blech. I still see, thankfully I'm not on some of that social media stuff anymore, but man, when I was on it, it was toxic. And I'm like, you really think like that as a 42-year-old?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that like high schoolish? Like, why do you worry about that?
Right.
It's not like you have to go to school the next day and somebody ridicules you about what you said to this person or what you said to this boy or what you wore. It's like,
well, here's the thing that I've learned a lot about myself in the last couple of years because of things that I've been going through. And I've had to do a lot of self-reflection, and I was pretty insecure, like in high school, in grade school, especially. I was very shy and very insecure. I developed early, and the boys made life very difficult for me. The girls did as well. So I grew up in school, going through school. I was always very self-conscious and things like that. But since then, I have learned that I hate confrontation. I do not enjoy it, but I'm not afraid of it. The truth is hard sometimes, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of saying it, and I'm not afraid to hear it. I'm not afraid of criticism, and I don't get defensive, like knee-jerk defensive like you do when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
I am not afraid to apologize or admit when I'm wrong. I don't say things out loud. Even if it's a private conversation, I don't say things out loud to another person or with a megaphone that I don't believe to be true. And I don't say things that I wouldn't stand behind. So even if someone says they overheard me say whatever, I'd say, yes, I did. I'm sorry that you heard that, but that's how I feel. I never thought that I would be that kind of person, but you go through enough and you learn enough and learn from your mistakes, I guess. And it's nice. I feel so much more secure at this age than I ever have in my life. And I really want that for other people that I care about. Communication is not as hard as people make it.
Agreed.
And I think, I don't know, to me, that's been the best part about aging.
Yeah, I think I think why so many people struggle with the communication side of it is just fear of outcome.
Yeah, there's fear. That's what I was going to say. Courage. One of the reasons that I think the Office finale hit it out of the park was how they ended it. With Pam saying that she couldn't watch after a few episodes. She couldn't watch herself at that age because she said, I spent so many years being less happy than I could have been.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, if I were to give advice to any, young girl out there watching, I'd say, be strong, have courage, because life isn't that long. And it's such a beautiful moment. And I feel seen when she says that, because for me, that's what aging has been most. It's been about not being afraid. Like, what the hell was I afraid of in grade school when someone said, I heard you said this about, what was I afraid of to say, yeah, I said it and I'm sorry. Like, there's something so liberating about knowing yourself, the good things and the ugly things. And I know myself and I've accepted that. I'm lucky enough to have found someone who knows those things about me and loves me deeply. That's been the best part of aging.
Good for you. I'm
Thanks.
proud of you.
Thanks, bro.
Even though you're older than me, I'm proud of you. I'm just joking. That's cool. No, I can really respect that. And I definitely gotten sort of the same as I got older. I probably cared a little bit too much as a kid. It always really mattered to me what people thought of me.
Yeah.
And I think even about 10 years ago or so, I still felt that way because I am so different than when I was younger.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I want people to realize that, and I don't know why that matters.
Like, why?
Right. Physically I'm different. Mentally I'm stronger. All these different things. I feel like I went from a goofball that really didn't act like he cared about much to, now I care about a lot, and a lot of things matter to me, and I take stuff seriously. So I guess I just want people to know that, but I don't know why that's so important.
Yeah. And I let me clarify something too. I think when you say, we don't care what people think, I very much care what people think, people who I care about, people who care about me,
Mm-hmm.
people I admire.
Mm-hmm.
I care about what my dad and my mom think
yeah.
of me. I care about what you and my sister and my close friends. I care about people who matter, what they think of me, but I don't care what strangers think of me.
Right. No, I got you.
And I do not care what unhealthy people think of me.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have your shit together, then you talk about
Don't talk to me.
You talk about me as much as your heart desires. Go right ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, I got you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, watching my kids grow up, become more mature, and sort of help them through life decisions. I like that about this age. I've enjoyed that.
Me too.
Kind of having, I guess, an established career to be able to, not just the career part, but being able to provide financially is very fulfilling to me. So again, that only comes with experience and age, I think. And then I feel like at our age, and even more so for mom and dad's generation, like we've kind of earned the right to relax a little bit.
Just
a little
getting
bit.
ready to say that.
You know what I mean?
That's what Josh and I were talking about yesterday. We were in the car on the way to someplace, and we were talking about getting old. You get to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't, so-and-so's birthday party, you go, no. Oh, so-and-so's getting married, you're going to go, no. Like,
Right. In early adulthood, you feel like you had to say yes to everything.
You had to go to everything.
You had to come and go. And
say yes to everything. No.
Yep.
I'm too old for that. My bedtime is 6:00. No, I'm just kidding. But you just don't, that sense of obligation seems to,
yeah.
you know.
So I really enjoy that.
It's nice. Have we earned the right to relax a little bit? I think we have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
We've raised children. We've worked, jobs that have been, demanding at times.
Very.
And we've made life choices. We've had mortgages and had, overwhelming, bills in some situations, and just all these different adulthood kind of things you have to deal with. We've been through, family illnesses and things that we've had to like emotionally kind of deal with, and those kind of challenges. So yeah, I feel like, I can just kind of like,
At this age, we get to just say,
do what I want when I want.
Exactly.
And ain't nobody going to tell me different. So yeah, I like that part.
I do too.
Yep.
Well, I think I'm ready to relax.
I am too. So I'm glad we talked about this.
Me too. I've learned a lot about you.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm really proud of you. It's cool to watch your siblings grow up. And I'm sure it's the same for you and mom and dad. And it's just cool to watch you guys be mothers and work jobs and make adult decisions. And so, good or bad, you guys have done a good job.
Thank you. And I have to say, you are my hero.
Thank you. I don't believe you.
It's
Am
true.
I?
It's true. It's true.
Thank you.
You've been my little brother. You started out as my little brother, but I think since high school and beyond and to this day, you're my older brother. You feel like my older brother. Speaking of age.
Yeah.
You do feel like an older brother because you're very protective.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't like confrontation either, but you'd cut a bitch for me.
I would settle it. Yeah, for sure. I don't put up with stuff like that.
That's right.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because for the people out there listening, there was a time where I would walk by her in high school and say, "Hey, Mary Beth." I was a freshman or whatever, and she would turn her head or gross or whatever. I was like, "Oh, she hates me. Oh my God, she hates me." So that's pretty cool that we've gotten to this point. So yeah, I think wrap it all up. The challenge, I think, is just to come out of the end of middle age with life satisfaction restored. Hopefully everybody can get there.
I think it's an awakening, not a crisis, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, until next time.
We'll figure out something cool to talk about together.
All righty.
See ya.
Peace.